And here's what's been trending this week on Facebook.
Hey guys, welcome to today's installment of Trending with Friends. I'm Jason.
And I'm Stephanie.
And we actually have some really interesting topics to talk about with you today. So let's get started. First, we have Volkswagen. The technician was killed by a robot at a production plant in Germany. A robot has killed a contractor at one of Volkswagen's production plants in Germany, the Heiko Hilvig said. The 22-year-old was part of a team that was setting up a stationary robot when it grabbed and crushed him against a metal plate. He said initial conclusions indicate that human error was to blame, rather than a problem with the robot. He said it normally operates within a confined area, grabbing parts and manipulating them. Another contractor was present when the incident occurred, but wasn't harmed. Hilvig said he declined to give details about the case, citing an ongoing investigation. German news agency dpa reported that prosecutors were considering whether to bring charges, and if so, against whom.
Holy crap, like, that's, like, so, like...
It seems like something out of a movie.
Yeah, like, I just...
You go to work, robot crushes you, and he was younger than us.
Oh my god, like, my thought is, like, okay, so I understand a lot of companies or whatever, they replace people with robots. A robot just, like, went rogue.
I mean, think about it, like, now they have robots that do surgery.
Oh, that's right. That scares me, like, how trusting can you possibly be?
Yeah, if they're saying human error was the reason for this cause, like, what's to say all these other robots that are now performing various tasks can't get misinformed and cause, you know, harm and death.
It's, like, really freaky. Like, that, it almost seems like it was a little bit of a freak accident, too, but that just is, I don't work with robots.
And two, like, what kind of human error was wrong? Was it someone who was programming the robot? Was it the guy who was setting it up, not following safe working procedures?
Yeah.
I kind of wish we had more. This news article came from ABC Go News.
Okay. So, next up is Josh Duggar. Of course,
all
know about the Duggars. So, Josh Duggar, new molestation scandal, non-family victim ready to go to court. So, Josh admitted to molesting 5 underage girls when he was also underage, but in a shocking twist, one of the non-family victims is planning to file a civil lawsuit against Josh. So, this means Josh may have to go to court and face his victim, and perhaps new information will come forward. Now, with this, I kind of read a little bit more into it, and, like, apparently the woman who's coming forward is kind of, like, really scared about it, just because, you know, the Duggars have, you know, all this money and all this stuff.
Well, I mean, too, she's going to be reliving a traumatic experience.
Yeah, and I think it's absolutely crazy.
I mean, when I had jury duty, I was working on a case that involved sexual misconduct, and it was really hard for the girl to relive those events.
It's like, I mean, and then having to see him there and, like, you're talking on a stand, that's just, to me, like, would freak me out. But, of course, I'm sure the Duggars are going to do as much as they possibly can so that it doesn't end up in court.
I mean, after all, they made a huge cover-up for, what, 10 years?
That's what it seems like, yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. So this was from HollywoodLife.com.
Okay, so next we have Vogue. Channing Tatum performs Madonna's dance in a video. We'll have a link to the video down in the description below. Ever since he broke out in Hollywood with 2006's Step Up, Channing Tatum has done more to popularize the fine art of male dancing since, well, dare we say, Gene Kelly. Get it? You know, Gene Kelly at Vogue. Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire. And when we say male dancing, we're not just talking about the mesmerizing body rolls and well-timed bumps and grinds of the Magic Mike franchise. Tatum is the honest-to-goodness hoofer. And to put those skills to the test, we asked our August cover star to break down 7 classic dance moves in 30 seconds. His Vogue is so good, it might give the material girl herself a run for her money. Oh. And that is Vanity Fair. So Tatum is going to be Vanity Fair's August cover star.
Oh, yay. Looks like I'll be buying that one. Yeah, I was like, I know he's a great dancer and everything, and I'm like, I think I've seen any of the Magic Mike films.
I saw the movie. It was funny. I mean, it's kind of, you know, like what we do, just something silly to do on camera.
I suppose, yeah.
You know, he also did the Funky Chicken and some other stuff. I mean, the Vogue, it was pretty funny. I'm not going to lie. Seeing him do Vogue. But then again, it was like 10 seconds, maybe a little longer. I don't think it was even 10 seconds.
Yeah, well, link in the description box, obviously, so you guys can...
Tell us what you think of Channing Tatum's dance moves.
Absolutely. Next up, some happy stuff. So Olivia de Havilland celebrated her 99th birthday on July 1st. This is, you know, absolutely amazing. So 99 years of age is a huge milestone no matter who you are, but to have reached that banner birthday as the last living actor from one of the most beloved and controversial movies of all time, Gone with the Wind, requires a special note of congratulations. De Havilland, who appeared in Gone with the Wind when she was in her early 20s, ultimately went on to star in dozens of movies and TV shows, winning 2 Oscars, one for To Each His Own and another one for The Heiress, before stepping away from the spotlight in 1988. She told Entertainment Weekly earlier this year that she's seen Gone with the Wind about 30 times, and it still brings her joy. Luckily, it does not make me melancholy, she said about watching her now-deceased co-stars, when I see them vibrantly alive on screen. I experience a kind of reunion with them, a joyful one. The article noted that she lives in Paris, she still does crossword puzzles, and is working on her autobiography. She also can't wait for her next birthday. I'm certainly relishing the idea of living a century, she said. Can you imagine that? What an achievement. So this was from Today.com, and I think that is just freaking awesome. I mean, to live 99 years, and she's just amazing.
You know, to, like, relive your days on the big screen with all your friends, but not get sad about it is pretty amazing.
It is. It's like, you know, not getting sad. It's just like, oh my god, I remember when we did that. It's like, I think it's really beautiful. I think
it was a really beautiful story.
Yeah.
And happy birthday, Miss Havilland. Okay. So now for a little more controversy.
Ooh.
We have Hank Baskett. Former NFL player and wife Kendra Wilkinson discussed 2014 sex scandal. For star Hank Baskett, football was all he'd ever known professionally. And when his career in the NFL ended in 2011, the former wide receiver sank into a deep depression that nearly cost him everything. Though Hank Baskett, 32, remained in the limelight thanks to his marriage to former Playboy playmate Kendra Wilkinson and their joint reality TV ventures, the former athlete was unmoored. To cope with the pain, he turned to alcohol and drugs, which ultimately put him in the middle of a sex scandal that tore his marriage apart. The stress and depression was eating at me, Baskett tells People exclusively of his lowest points near the end of 2013. I fell into what happens to a lot of professional athletes who change careers. It hit me hard. He continues, my biggest insecurity was looking like a failure. I made it to the NFL. I was a smart kid. I was an A student. Pregnant with Elijah at the time, Wilkinson admits that she wasn't supportive of her hurting husband as she should have been. I was pregnant during his most depressing time in his life, the Kendra and Top star, age 30, says. Anytime he said, Kendra, I'm not feeling good, I would say, shut up, I'm pregnant. I never gave him the opportunity to come to me with his feelings. As far as the sex scandal, it was an attempt to buy marijuana that went horribly awry, says Baskett. The former athlete admits he was fondled by the women, but vehemently denies reports he participated. I put myself in a bad situation, Baskett says, whether I was battling depression or not. Now, after a rocky road paved with intense therapy and a stint on WeTV's Marriage Boot Camp reality stars, Wilkinson and Baskett are rebuilding their painful past. I've learned a lot about life, says Wilkinson, adds Baskett. We're in a better place than we have been and have room to grow. But with his new career as co-owner of the video game company Games, the family says he's overcome his depression and anxiety. I see what my path is now, says Baskett. I am not wandering around aimlessly. I have a career and my family is complete. And that article came from people.com.
See, like, for me, I'm like, I think that, you know, it's terrible, all that stuff that happened to him, and, you know, I understand depression, anxiety, and stuff, and I think that, you know, kudos to them for getting through it, though.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, right now with most Hollywood couples, like, this would just be a divorce, you know, 2 years ago.
Exactly, and another thing, too, like, we don't know, like, I know recently Jennifer Garner and Ben Affleck are filing for divorce, and they've been married for 10 years. Like, that's ridiculous. And, you know, Hank Baskett and Kendra are just, like, still together, and they're getting through it, and I think that's the best way, and I think that's how, to me, like, couples that aren't famous, that's how they should, and they probably do, you know, cope with these sort of things and get through them together, and that's the important part, keeping your marriage together.
I was kind of, like, torn through parts of this. I mean, I feel like, you know, he was seeking the medical help, yet he still turned to an abusive situation with alcohol and drugs. Yeah. And then, you know, and that was during the time when his wife was pregnant. Mm-hmm. But then, you know, also Kendra made it all about her while she was pregnant. Yeah,
and the thing, too, is, like, you kind of see, like, I watched her on The Girls Next Door, watched her on all her shows, so I kind of see how she was, like, you know, she kind of, I don't think she really saw what was going on. Like, she probably jokingly was always like,
kind of numb to the situation.
Yeah. So I kind of get that, but I think it's, you know, I find it great that they're getting through that together, and it definitely makes their marriage stronger.
So, we'll move on, but we'll continue to monitor the situation to see how it plays out.
All right, so next thing, a little bit kind of interesting, very kind of sciencey. This is about the Portuguese ManOWar. And so this is current carries deadly jellyfish like ManOWar to New Jersey beaches. Thank God we don't live in New Jersey.
Yes.
Winds and the Gulf Stream current are the likely catalyst behind strange jellyfish-like creatures called ManOWar popping up on the East Coast beaches over the past several weeks. Known as the Portuguese ManOWar, these large, colorful, venomous animals are often confused for a jellyfish, but they are actually part of a grouping related to jellyfish called, this is a different
Remember,
word.
We're not science people.
Siphonophorus. I think that's right. They can grow up to 1 foot long and 5 inches wide, and their tentacles can stretch as long as 165 feet. That's according to National Geographic. Recent sightings of the ManOWar along beaches in Harvey Cedars, New Jersey, prompted lifeguards to post information on its Facebook page, where they issued water hazards and urged swimmers to be aware of their surroundings in the ocean and always swim near a lifeguard. Matthew Landau, a professor of marine science at Stockton University, said that the Portuguese ManOWar are found in all tropical and semi-tropical oceans, where ocean temperatures are higher, but they are fairly common offshore along the Atlantic coast. Since they are unable to propel themselves in any direction, they tend to drift with the ocean currents towards warmer ocean weathers. So
that's kind of strange.
It is strange, yeah. That's New
Jersey is not a warm place.
It's north. But I understand, like, if stuff is shifting, obviously, you know, maybe they're, like, the water's just taking them in that direction. I mean, we're obviously going to post a picture of this because they are really cool looking. You need to stay away from them because one thing on here is that typically in the Northeast, we see these animals periodically in the summer when they are successfully carried north by the Gulf Stream current, Landau said. Sometimes the currents move these animals into temperature seas when the winds drive them towards coastlines. The diet of the Portuguese ManOWar is composed of small fish and crustaceans with their long contractile tentacles paralyzing their prey. These creatures may seem very attractive to look at while they are lying on the sand, but if humans come into direct contact with the Portuguese ManOWar, their sting can be fatal even when they appear to be dead. So you see them,
don't touch it.
Go away, get away from them. Like, just do not. They're pretty cool. Just do not look at them.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and it's like all this stuff is kind of popping up really more on that.
It kind of makes people not want to go to the beach, especially on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Because another one of our trends that we're going to talk about shortly is like a shark attack.
Yeah.
That was also on the East Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean,
it kind of makes you think, like, what's going on with the globe, with the world and the climate change is kind of making me, like, a little bit nervous. Thank God we live, in the Midwest.
Yeah. We have Lake Michigan. There's yet to be a shark or a deadly jellyfish in Lake Michigan. Fingers crossed.
Yes. All right.
But yeah, it's kind of scary to think about, like, something like that. A trip to the beach could end deadly.
You accidentally step on it. Like, its tentacle is 165 feet long. That's ridiculous.
Yeah. Or a kid. I mean, a kid accidentally touches it.
Playing right there, and they're like, oh my God. And I know on the article as well, like, I didn't keep it down here, my information, but it did say that even, like, depending on your size and, weight and all that stuff, it'll kill you faster. So if you're a child, it's going to kill you faster. If you're an adult, not so much. But there hasn't been any, like, I haven't seen, like, any treatment or anything like that, like, if you are stung by one.
Okay.
Moving on.
Well, this one's been in the news lately. Macys has made our trends today. The retailer ends a business relationship with Donald Trump, and they will phase out the clothing line. Macys is pulling Donald Trump brand merchandise from its store after the Republican presidential candidate's recent controversial remarks created public uproar. The department store has come under intense pressure to cut ties with the real estate magnate and businessman after he referred to immigrants from Mexico and other countries as killers and rapists. In a statement Wednesday morning, Macys said the company stands for diversity, and that it had no tolerance for discrimination. We are disappointed and distressed by recent remarks about immigrants from Mexico. We do not believe that disparaging characterizations portray an accurate picture of the many Mexican Americans and Latinos who have made so many valuable contributions to the success of our nation. Macys said, in light of our statements made by Donald Trump, which are inconsistent with Macys' values, we have decided to discontinue our business relationship with Mr. Trump and will phase out the Trump menswear collection, which has been sold at Macys since 2004. This is not the first fallout for Trump, who launched his White House bid in mid-June. Last week, Univision announced that it would cancel its telecast of the Miss USA pageant, which is partially owned by Trump, and that it would cut all business ties with him. NBC Universal, which had jointly owned the Miss USA pageant and Miss Universe pageant with Trump, has also severed its relationship with the brash White House candidate. Trump, also the host of Celebrity Apprentice, which airs on NBC, will no longer be a part of the reality show. Others are also openly chastising Trump. From former New York Governor George Pataki, who is also seeking the GOP presidential nomination, circulated a letter Wednesday calling on his party's fellow White House candidate to denounce Trump's remarks. Here we are in 2015, and a leading candidate for the GOP nomination for president is calling Mexicans criminals, rapists, and drug dealers, Pataki wrote. This is unacceptable. Meanwhile, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio announced that he will review the city's contracts with Trump, calling the business mogul's recent comments disgusting, offensive, and hateful in a statement. A city official explained that the review will at least in part focus on Trump gold links at Ferry Point in the Bronx. Trump won the contract to build this golf course under the city's previous mayor, Michael Bloomberg. The course opened earlier this year. Trump said in a statement that it was his decision to terminate his relationship with Macys, and accused both the department store and NBC for supporting illegal immigration. Both Macys and NBC totally caved at the first sight of potential difficulty with special interest groups who are nothing more than professional agitators, who are not looking out for the people they purport to represent, but only for themselves. It is people like this that are actually running our country because our leaders are weak and inefficient, Trump said. Macys denied the claim that it was Trump's decision to sever ties. It was Macys' decisions, a spokesman said to an email in CNN.
Yeah, that is just, to me, it's like, ugh, I just loathe him with a passion.
There's just so much wrong with this.
And it's
You're running for president, and you just insulted more than half the nation.
Yeah, here I am. Insult me. There you go.
Yeah.
I just think...
I firmly stand behind Macys and NBC.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
they're not... It's like, I don't... With Trump saying that, okay, they're fine with immigration or illegal immigrants. No, they're against being racist and prejudiced. That's what they're against. And...
Yeah, I mean, this has nothing to do with immigration, in a sense. This has to do with racism.
Yeah. That's one of the things, like, for me, I'm like, I applaud Macys for this. You are awesome. And, get rid of his stuff.
Yeah. And I mean, that is huge to be dumped by one of the largest retailers in the nation.
Yeah.
One of the major broadcasting companies. And to be kicked off of the TV show that was created by you.
Yeah, I think, it's just, to me, it's like, I was discussing this at work with my coworkers, and we're kind of like, either he's going to go really downhill. I know some other stuff has been going around saying how he's like, I'm going to sue you, I'm going to sue you. Do what you want, you're in the wrong. You're just trying to cover your ass.
I mean, they can counter-sue for hate crimes.
Exactly. And I think that, it's, whatever, send his stuff to TJ Maxx, sell it for $5. I don't give a crap, I don't buy his stuff anyway.
He put the final nail in his coffin.
Yeah, that was him. It's like, you decided to run in June, that's like mid-June, and within the
past 2 weeks,
you just completely, like, you ruined everything. You just, like, literally, like, your mouth ruined everything. If you have these sort of opinions, keep them to yourself. Especially if you want to be president.
Okay. So next up we have...
Okay, Emilia Clarke. Now, this has to do with, what's it called? Game of Thrones. We do not watch Game of Thrones.
Sorry, Game of Thrones fans.
Yeah, sorry. We apologize. So, this is from Time.com. And the article goes saying, fans shared Clarke's skepticism and posited a number of theories about how the commander of the Night's Watch could return. Harrington, this is about Kit Harington. Harrington has insisted in interviews that he is done with the show, and the showrunners have said dead is dead. But George R.R. Martin, who wrote the A Song of Ice and Fire series upon which the HBO drama is based, was way more coy about a potential Jon Snow return. The character was also killed in the books. If there's one thing we know in A Song of Fire and Ice, it's that death is not necessarily permanent, he said in an interview with Entertainment Weekly. Now, Emilia Clarke was quoted saying that I think there's a 50-50 chance Jon Snow will return to Game of Thrones. Now... Okay,
so here's what I have to say. I don't watch that show.
Yeah.
But I do watch another show that's really big right now, Pretty Little Liars.
Okay.
Also based off of a book series. Characters die in the books and come back all the time. Mm-hmm. And in the show, it's completely different.
Yeah, they change stuff all the time.
I wouldn't rely on the source material from the books to determine if this guy is really dead. I mean, after all, in the books, Toby died in book 2, and on the show, we're 6 seasons in, and he's still alive.
He's still talking about Pretty Little Liars.
Yeah. So, I mean... Like, things like that change all the time.
Yeah. So, you never know. I mean, even though he may be done with this character, they may be like, you know what, we want to bring you back, and it might be like a career choice. You know what, I got a great start with Game of Thrones, I want to branch out and do other stuff, and he may not want to come back. So they may not bring him back for that, even if they decide to bring him back. So we'll see how this pans out. Obviously, this is we're gonna see how
if you're a Game of Thrones fan, leave your thoughts in the comments.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Okay. So next is another Playboy star. Holly Madison, ex-Playmate, discusses life in Playboy Mansion with Hugh Hefner, girlfriends in book. Now this article is actually kind of interesting because it's more of a question and answer session with her.
We're going to link that, of course, down in the description box.
Someone asked, "Hello, Holly. I need some tunes, so I have a musical question. What songs would you choose for a soundtrack if you were destroying your house with a sledgehammer, having awesome slow-motion sex, taking the first bite of your favorite meal, being chased by monsters through the night, and tasked with saving the world through the power of music?" Okay, first of all, this is the most amazing question I've ever heard. Ha 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 ha. I think I would pick, oh my gosh, I'd probably pick Hole or something for the sledgehammer. For the sex, I'd probably pick spa music or something. For the first bite, I usually listen to 1940s Pandora station when I'm in the kitchen, so big band music. For being chased by monsters, it'd have to be something energetic, like No Fox or something. And if I had to save the world through music, oh man, I probably wouldn't pick a song, because I feel like people's musical tastes are so different for everybody. And no matter how good or how popular or how energetic a song is, there's always somebody who hates it. I Don't Like You Much asked, was Kendra's laugh that annoying, or did the cameras make it seem bad? Holly Madison replied, ha 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 ha. Well, I'm not one to talk about annoying laughs because it kind of became a trademark thing. But I can't really talk. My laugh is just as bad. Casamundo asked, I don't know if you've seen the TED Talk by Cameron Russell describing her experience as a model, but if so, what's your opinion about what she said? And what do you think of the objectification of women in the media and how that affects masculinity? How men perceive women and overall gender relations? Madison replied, I haven't seen the TED Talk, but I'll definitely look it up. It sounds interesting. You know, we're entertaining this whole new era with Instagram and Photoshopping becoming so easy that anyone can do it at the drop of a hat. And I've always embraced glamour and femininity throughout my life. So I'm hesitant to point the finger at the industry. But it's hard to see Instagram, and you look, and all these women look beyond perfect. With these out-of-control proportions, even though I know they're using Facetune app to redo their proportions, it still has an effect on me and how I look about my body. And I just worry about the younger generation showing up and thinking that this look is normal, or that they have to change themselves so much for Instagram. It's really interesting to me. I was just talking about this with my friends the other day, and the person I was talking to was a man, and even he was saying that it was really bad for men as well as women, because what you're going to get in real life probably isn't going to look like something you'd get out of Facetune. Pint of Blood asked, what is a cool thing you can tell us about the house that not a lot of people know? Is there really an Elvis room? Did Lennon really put out a cigarette on a Macys? Yes. The room you're thinking of, it's not called the Elvis room. They call it the van room because it looks like the back of a 1970s van. It's like a mattress, floor, and mirrored walls and ceilings, and these old 70s looking pillows. And there's a Matisse sketch that was hanging in one of the halls, and they replaced the glass. But you can still see the smudge where he put out his cigarette. Okay. And the final question asked was, would you rather fight one Hugh Hefner-sized duck or 100 duck-sized Hugh Hefners? Holly Madison replied, the little tiny Hugh Hefners sound beyond creepy, so I'll take the duck.
That's a long one. Of course, you're going to put the link in the description box for that one, because that's really interesting, and it's really cool that she decided to go through with that.
So
and I want to get her book.
Yeah, I thought these were, like, really interesting. So, if I were to cook a meal, I don't know what I would want my song to be. What would you want your song to be?
Oh, gosh, because I'm trying to think the last time I actually cooked a real meal. And what I listened to, like...
I think I would want that song about, like, the big pizza pie. You know the song I'm talking about?
I do know. I don't know, like, I tend to put on, like... I listen to Mozart, and I'll play that, like, when I'm cleaning my room. So, I don't know about, like, cooking. Like, I kind of let my playlist run wild when I'm doing, like, something I'm like, I'm not going to care. And then I'm like, oh, I love this song, and I'll start jamming to it. Like, my latest jam that I love is Justin Bieber's song. So don't shame me for that one. It's really good. And
I will say, too, that the first time I read this, I thought it said that Lennon put out his cigarette on a Maltese. And I'm like, oh my god, he put out his cigarette on a dog. And then I realized, oh no, it's a Matisse, a painting.
Okay, like, I really got to get her book now. Okay, so this one's the last one that we have on here. brings us kind of back to the East Coast. So this is from Isle of Palms in South Carolina. This is from postandcourier.com. So a 12-year-old was treated Tuesday for minor shark bite in Isle of Palms County Park. So a 12-year-old boy visiting the area on vacation was bitten by a shark Tuesday while swimming at the Isle of Palms County Park. At least the third swimmer in South Carolina to be injured by a bite so far this year. Cynthia Wilson, park manager, said that the boy and his mother approached lifeguards as they were leaving just after 6 p.m. and asked for help. The boy had a bite on his leg, and lifeguards provided minor first aid before the fire department arrived. Now, that does bring us back to what the heck's going on with the climate.
Yeah.
But I kind of like, you get bit. Like, now, it didn't seem like mom was hysterical or anything like that. The kid wasn't freaking out. Like, I don't know. They didn't put that in the article.
But also, what's shocking about this is that he was in waist-deep water. He wasn't far out in the ocean.
So it kind of makes you wonder, like...
why are the sharks coming this close to the shore?
Exactly. They couldn't... Since, they came in... They approached lifeguard later. They couldn't really, like... they told them where it was at, but the shark wasn't there anymore, so you don't know what kind of shark it was.
I mean, you have killer jellyfish, man-eating sharks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's turning into an East Coast horror movie.
It is. It's like Jaws. So, for this, they're kind of like... They're trying to see, like, what sharks are approaching, what's causing them to kind of shift. Now, I was actually watching this, like, I think a couple of weeks ago for Shark Week, when I was babysitting my sister's dog. I digress. And they were talking about how the sharks are starting to come back where they filmed the Jaws film. So I think that something with the climate is changing. It's causing them to shift and kind of come back up the East Coast. And you're seeing sharks reported. Like, watching this on TV, they're like, oh my God, there's a shark there. It's approaching, like, some seals or whatever. And I'm like, it is crazy. Some of them are huge. Because there was another article that kind of refreshed when we were going through the trends. And a man was, like, severely attacked, but he didn't lose any limbs. And this was, like, the 7th one on the East Coast. So it is getting up there. So I don't know. I want to visit the East Coast this summer at all.
I know. And, like, that's just crazy. I mean, you've heard of Gulf Coast attacks.
Mm-hmm. Really more tropical down more tropical. South.
But, I mean, it's starting to make its way up along the coast.
Yeah, and it's kind of making you think, like, are the sharks, like, starting to develop something different with maybe cooler water? Like, I don't know. We're not scientists.
Yeah, I mean, here in Indiana, it's been a cold summer for the most part. Yeah. We've had a couple hot days, but it's been really rainy and cold. And, we have weather that's similar to New York and New Jersey, where we're at. So it hasn't been a hot summer. Those waters cannot be getting warm. No. Not to mention it is the Atlantic Ocean, which doesn't warm up.
It's very,
So the fact that these tropical creatures are making their ways into the freezing cold water is also really alarming.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think, too, like, if they're more in shallow water, like, if I kind of find it weird that they're making their way towards cooler water, but... If it's shallow,
it would be
it's like warmer. It's warmer because it's more towards the sun. It's lower levels. So I'm kind of thinking, like, what kind of sharks are kind of lurking in that area?
But then, too, are the waters toward the Gulf and the Caribbean getting cooler?
That could be another thing. The way currents are changing.
Yeah. Is the water up down south getting cooler and making it feel like the water's up north?
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy to think about. So that is what is trending this week. If you have any thoughts on any of the topics we talked about, please leave them down in the comments. We'll go ahead and read them. Yeah. If you liked what you saw this week, go ahead and hit the like button. And always subscribe to us so you get the latest videos that we post. Okay? So we'll see you guys.